Nice.
So what did you want to say?
No, I was just going to say that actually, if you find out for yourself, if you play that and just play the beginning of it, and you'll hear quite a soft. You will hear quite a. This is the song where I replaced all the music and just kept the vocal, and it crossed my mind this morning when I heard it that the vocal for me sounds a lot more energetic than the music. So it sounds like he would never sing it to this music. Do you understand what I mean? He sung it to a lot more rocky. So just play the very beginning of that song, and I'll see if anyone can pick up that it has a slightly more urgent feel in the vocal than really what the music says, because it was a rock. No, not that one.
Finance for yourself.
Finance for yourself. Okay. Sorry.
Oh my God, you had to turn it over. That was another great thing in those days when you were sequencing an album.
The sadist days are mine. Why don't you find out for yourself? It's a lot more, it's a different thing. You'll see the price. Very close to me.
Would you like to keep hearing this song?
Something new that has special interest in your career. They wanna help you to grow, and then silent on your door. Why don't you find out for yourself? Then you'll see the glass hidden in the grass. You'll never believe me so. Why don't you find out for yourself? Sink down to my heart. That's just the way it goes. Some men here, they're full accidental in your distress. They kneel and pray and they say, "Long may it last." Why don't you find out for yourself? Then you'll see the glass hidden in the grass. That seeds come and go, for which you must allow. Sink down to my heart. That's just the way it goes. Don't make up bad mistakes. I know exactly what they are. And what do? You just sit there and stand in the back. So many times I don't have any skin, but that's just the way it goes.
So you got a track, man, for this guy.
Asik bos.
Kalau lagi dimainin, kalau pada mau nyanyi langsung aja. Apa namanya? Kemarin sebelum acara ini di sosial media gue bikin poll kecil-kecilan. What's your favorite song dari this album? Dan kebanyakan orang ternyata memilih Lillywhite.
Lillywhite?
Yes.
Is that your favorite?
That's not my favorite, but a lot of the people who answered me, they said Lillywhite. Mungkin menarik juga kalau misalnya kita tahu kalau dari teman-teman yang datang ke sini lagu favorit kalian di album ini apa gitu ya. Ada yang suka Lillywhite juga? Enggak ada. Ada yang favoritnya Now My Heart Is Full. Hold on to your friends. Why don't you find it for yourself? Oh, it's good. Speedway. Oh, I love Speedway. Kalau ini yang kalau secara hit di sini yang paling ada di radio, The More You Ignore Me It Was Ragged. Hipster banget ya.
Ya pakein lagi nih ayo. Masa kagak sih?
Tapi itu lagu penting tuh.
Iyalah.
Kenapa itu lagu penting?
Lagu penting untuk gue karena waktu jadi struggling artis ya di Kuala Lumpur, anak Ipoh ada di Kuala Lumpur. Jadi nggak tahu future sebagai musisi, sebagai penulis atau apa ya. Patah hati berkali-kali. Jadi iya walaupun lagu itu tipikal ya, tapi dia direct. Jadi setiap malam langsung.
Ini di antara teman-teman di Ipoh itu juga universal ya, itu yang paling itu
banyak lagi yang di Ipoh, lebih ramai lagi yang ada kalau lagi yang Space atau Morrissey itu.
Okay.
Wah ini pose aja.
But who decided for that one to be the single? I think it's like the most successful singer Morrissey ever, right?
The More You Ignore Me, I think it was obvious. You know, it's got a great guitar hook. It's got a catchy lyric. You know, there was not really much question about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oke, mungkin kembali ke Aca nih. Gue pengen tahu itu t-shirt tuh permanent lens itu tuh apa itu?
Gua pernah berebut ngaca nih baju polisi. Sampel.
Tapi kalah kan?
Kalah.
Ini karena saya suka bola dan saya suka Morrissey. Tadinya saya juga nggak tahu Salford Last Club itu apa. Itu sebenarnya youth recreational center, right?
Yeah.
It's a Salford Last Club.
Yeah.
Itu ceritanya. Jadi orang juga tanya, maksudnya ini apa sih permanent Last Club apa perkumpulan cowok-cowok? Ya sebenarnya Lats and Lasses juga boleh. Cuman berhubung tulisannya Lats doang ya udah. Itu aja sih sebenarnya. Karena gue suka bola dan suka Morrissey. Gitu. Plus tempatnya ada di mana? Manchester.
I love that.
Kalau Ade, tanya saya lagi nih. Tadi udah bilang kalau salah satu pengaruhnya Morrissey kalau all the paradox in him gitu kan. Itu mungkin secara ideologi mungkin ya. Kalau secara musically atau lyrically dia pengaruh nggak kalau?
Sangat pengaruh banget gitu. Dia dalam penulisan liriknya itu banyak sekali memberikan kata-kata yang sangat indah tapi jahat sebenarnya. Gitu. Jadi gue suka banget gitu. Jadi kayak dengan sangat sopan, eloquent gitu. Dia pengen bilang, gue pengen bunuh dan robek-robek perut lo gitu. Tapi dengan sangat indah gitu, caranya kan kita yang maupun laki yang kayak gimana yang semacam mungkin juga akhirnya oh my god ada terasa wah gila ini manusia emang. Jadi kayak gimana ya gitu, kita kan semua juga punya feminine side gitu ya, feminine gitu. Itu dibuka banget sama dia pintunya gitu, dibuka di lo keluar aja nggak apa-apa, lo bisa menari-nari di garden yang indah ini gitu. Dan dengan gaya lo yang tetap maco dengan rebel looknya gitu, tapi lo wah gila ini banyak banget ya, ada bunga lili ada apa gitu, itu pengaruh banget buat gue men. Kayak gue juga akhirnya pengen berkebun dulu gitu, cuman bingung gitu. Pengen
Khusus gladioli. Kalau waktu itu gue pernah nonton kayaknya Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, the video yang waktu itu Morrissey di on the side of the road just singing with bits of leaves on his hands. Terus gue lagi sama istri gue nanya, ini artinya apa ya sebenarnya ini? Terus istri gue bilang, istri gue penyair kan, tapi dia bilang, itu kan sama kayak Metro Mini lagi mogok. Hidupnya mogok soalnya.
Kalau nggak salah sih dia selalu suka carnation, he would wear carnation.
Carnation, yeah, well, gladioli.
Yeah, copying Oscar Wilde, right? Somehow.
Probably, I don't know that, but that's you probably.
I read that.
You read that, yeah. No, he's a thief.
It's very intertextual. Maybe one last question before we get questions from the crowd. For the three of you, so like we have this sense of Morrissey as a very sensitive artist, right? But on the other hand, he's also known for saying quite a lot of views on the media that critics have said are a bit racist, even white supremacists. And so what do you guys think of his statements?
I think he does look at England. He's such a contradiction to himself. So you can't really say, no, he's not racist at all, but he probably wouldn't choose to be in a room full of, I don't know, I won't say anything. But no, he's certainly not racist, but he's certainly also, his favourite part of English culture is from the 50s, and working men's England. It was when working men had pride, and I don't know why he thinks this. Personally, I much prefer multicultural, liberal ideals. But everyone to their own, and he's very simple. He's vegetarian not because for health, but because he just cannot imagine eating an animal. For him, that is just But he eats lots of white bread and lots of cheese, and he's not very healthy in terms of his eating. But he's a slow learner. I remember him. He never ate. He thought pizza was too foreign. He really did think pizza was too foreign because and yes. He now eats pizza, and I remember him telling me, like on a subsequent, late towards the end of my hanging out with him, Steve, I've started eating pizza now. Like, wow, Morrissey, that's great. Aren't you cosmopolitan? So that was great, but he, certainly we were staying in the studio where we had cooks. We had a whole team of people who were looking after us, But Morrissey, of course, doesn't like the smell of onions or the smell of garlic. So the cooks could not cook with any decent spices, because Morrissey didn't want the house to smell. So the cooks would come up to me and say, Steve, and it was like kids' food. This is what he liked. He liked very simple food. He liked corn, but you had to take it off because he would never be like someone seeing you. He would never like someone looking at him eating corn with his overbite.
Lucky KFC doesn't serve corn.
Yeah, it does. But he's a really gentle person, and I think he says some things just to have people remember him. Still.
Kalau menurut Aceh gimana? Bagaimana kita sebagai fans kita memproses dia on the one hand kayak gitu, tapi on the other hand kayak bisa Islamofobik juga mungkin.
Enggak, kalau gue sih nggak akan subjektif ya. Kalau memang Morrissey itu racist, nggak mungkin. Lagunya aja Hector, dan dia mencintai cowok-cowok Chicano nggak pakai baju, coy. Bener, kalau udah racist dia nggak akan suka. Itu aja sih. Dan kalau memang dia racist, pasti penolakan di sana lebih gila. Ini nggak ada apa-apa. Kita di sini aja berasumsi, oh dia gini, dia gitu. Banyak teman-teman gue, bahkan band gue punya band namanya Moses Reason, khusus bawain Morrissey aja. Sampai nggak mau ngeband lagi gitaris gue, karena menurut dia Morrissey itu racist. Gue bilang bullshit. Kalau dia racist, ya nggak akan gitu. Karena gue bilang gitu, dan nggak bakal mungkin. Beneran deh. Lu nggak belain dia, tapi lu gitu. Jadi sebaiknya lu percaya aja.
Kalau gimana deh?
Apa ini? Soal racist tadi?
Ya soal ya apa namanya, ada dua sisi Morrissey yang mungkin kontradiktori tadi.
Oh, dia sebenarnya being real aja tuh, misal being real, being human gitu, karena emang human kan dia paham bahwa fitrahnya manusia tuh iya benar ya. Abangku fitrah namanya. Sefitrahnya manusia tuh harus punya dua sisi, gelap dan terang gitu, untuk bisa apa ya, bisa jadi sempurna dalam ketidaksempurnaan manusia. Dia menjadi sempurna dan dia tahu itu gitu. Dan dia juga suka bikin orang bingung. Let's confuse kids. Nah, dari sekarang ada tuh di Twitter. Itu udah jadi dia. Jadi apa ya, dia seneng banget bikin orang tuh, oh, ini sebenarnya siapa sih ini orang gitu. Oh bahagia dia, nggak ada duanya. Di kamar sendiri kunci pintu, ambil sapu gitu. Udah pasti itu. Tapi itu kesempurnaan manusia di situ, dia tahu bahwa dengan tidak sempurna, dengan mempunyai banyak sisi gitu, dia jadi manusia yang sempurna, jadi makhluk yang sempurna. Paham dia. Dia bilang kemarin gitu sih kedua.
Jadi kalau menurut lo, kalau misalnya nih salah satu lirik yang mungkin buat gue paling susah mengetahui is he being ironic atau is he being apa namanya critical, bagaimana yang di Bengali platforms yang dia bilang life is hard enough when you belong here. Kalau menurut kalian itu gimana tuh? Apa namanya lirik itu tuh? Was it actually sympathetic to the Bengalis atau was it like anti-Bengalis atau gimana?
I don't know. He knows. I don't know.
Pengen gue tanyain, what I really want to ask is England for the English.
Yeah, but everyone, you know, England is also a multicultural society, so it's sort of, you know, it can mean anything, you know. But it never came up in the recording of 3 albums. There was never any bad feeling about, you know, I think racism is a stupid thing. And, you know, why should the colour of someone's skin, I mean, it's only like the outer layer of someone, it means nothing, you know. So I don't really understand why anyone is racist, because you just look at someone, there's so much more to them, you know. I would love my skin to be able to be brown, but when I go in the sun, I go fucking red. You know, so I'm you know, I'm jealous of all you guys. But no, I
Brown power.
we probably spent more time on this than really it merits. You know.
Oke, sekarang mungkin ada pertanyaan dari teman-teman. Pasti ada.
Pakai mic. Si koyo biar kedengeran.
Question.
Well, this is going back to the beginning of your working relationship with Morrissey. I mean, at that particular point in time, you've done a few albums with the Smiths, you've done a few solo albums. So, why do you think he wanted to work with you at that point in time, and what made you want to work with him?
Well, what made him work with me was that his last producer fucking died, so he had to find another producer. So, you know, and that was probably, you know, and he wasn't talking to Johnny Marr at the time. Me and Kirsty McCall, my wife at the time, we were probably the only people who were friends with both Johnny and Morrissey, you know, separately. Yeah.
I mean, you were familiar with his work before.
Yeah, I was a huge Smiths fan, and as I said, I knew Johnny really well because Johnny had played guitar on Kirsty's albums, and
so what were you going for when you decided to work with?
I was a bit nervous, but you know, being nervous is something I still am, you know, and I think it's good, actually, always think that you're no good, and start off from absolutely at the bottom, and disregard everything that you've ever done before, and get reborn every time. I mean, that's how true art, I think, and no complacency can really work. And I never wanted to repeat sonics or ideas or tricks that I did on some albums. So, you know, which is why maybe the first one was the best of the three that I did, for sure. Even though in America, Maladjusted was a much bigger hit, weirdly, you know.
And that was the album that is that.
But Southpaw Grammar, actually, I've got to say, if anyone listens to that album, is intense. I mean, and I remember on that, I think Morrissey had a dig at me for songs that were not long enough. And I said, I'll fucking cheat you. So we did Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils, 11 minutes long, which was just a loop that Boz had put in, you know. But I don't know why he asked me, you know. As I say, aesthetics are very, very important to him. And I mean, I'll tell you one other story, which is like gossipy story, but there was he didn't have a manager. He's famous for firing managers. Everyone manages him for a few months until they want to get paid, and then, you know, allegedly. Don't sue me. So there's this manager who was, this was at the time when George Michael was like the biggest star in the world. And George Michael's manager wanted to manage Morrissey. Huge thing. He was in LA, he flew over from LA to come to meet Morrissey. And we knew this guy was coming about 8 o'clock in the evening, you know, after dinner. So we finished dinner and we went to the studio and started, when this guy arrived and he was shown into the studio. I said, where's Moz? I don't know, he's not around. Okay, one sec. So I go and look for Morrissey, can't find him anywhere. This guy's sitting around and we're chatting to him and can't find Morrissey is nowhere. This guy has flown from LA to London, got a limousine to drive him from Heathrow Airport out to the studio, another 2 hours, and he's sitting around, he's like the most successful manager in the world, waiting for Morrissey. And where's Morrissey? Morrissey was nowhere to be found. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, you know, and because I'm quite, you know, I'm the opposite of Morrissey. I'm quite good with people, you know. It's part of my, it's part of my job is to I'm a people engineer, producer, you know. So anyway, 2 hours go by, and this guy goes, well, you know, I'm going to book into my enormous hotel suite in London. So he leaves, and then like 15 minutes after he left, who should walk in but Morrissey? And his excuse literally was, he didn't like his haircut! And that is a true fucking story. You know, he's fearless. He's fearless. You know? It's absolutely true. And apparently, I've told that story once before, and one of the reasons Morrissey didn't want to see me when he came to Jakarta last gig was that I had told that story. But he didn't quite understand it. He thought I was taking the piss out of Morrissey, and I wasn't. I was just explaining his fearlessness, you know. But he Googles himself a lot, and he found that story. And I called Boz. I said, "Oh, I'll come to the gig, and I'd love to see you." And Boz says, "Great." And then he said, "Steve, there's a problem. Morrissey doesn't want to see you." There you go.
Ada
But you know, I don't have much in common with him to talk. You know, as I said earlier, that I bumped into him. Boz, I love Boz and Alan. You know, and especially Boz. Boz has been with him longer than Johnny, like a long time. And Boz is one of my best friends, and you know, I'm always talking to Boz. And he said, and I went to a rehearsal in LA when I was living in LA, and I walked in and saw Morrissey, and he goes, "Hi." I go, "Hi," and shake hands. "How are you?" "I'm good." "How are you?" "I'm good." Okay then. And that was about it. I hadn't seen him in maybe 8 years at that point. We didn't have, there was not, you know, no real, you know, I mean, because I don't know his life. You know, he doesn't know my life, and it's fine.
Just one more before I hand it over.
Yes.
So how hands-on or hands-off was Morrissey when you recording? And could you explain what he meant by the Who's, Shepherd's Bush, 1964?
Well, he was, as I said earlier, the thing he was completely hands-on was the placement of the movies and harmony. You know, he would tell, Alan would do all the harmonies. Morrissey never sung harmony once in his life. So Alan White would do all the harmonies, and Morrissey would go there, not that line, and then he'd leave. And then we'd go and do it, and we'd work it out, and he'd come and listen to it later. Other than that, everything else was done by me and the band, me collaboratively with the band.
Who was in the band at the time?
It was Boz and Alan, Johnny Bridgewood on bass. The drummer was a guy who worked in a music shop that Boz knew. I don't think he ever made another record and he went back to his job. He not the world's greatest drummer, you know, but and then we got Spencer in later. I can't remember the drummer's name. Oh my God! Is it on the sleeve?
And there's no sleeve.
There's no sleeve.
Oh, it's not. Yeah.
Look it up on Wikipedia.
Okay. But he would come in and say, he would come into me, a man of very few words, you know, and he would come and listen to the music we were doing, and at one point he would say, probably not on Vauxhall and I, actually, it was on another album, but he would just come and listen to it, and he'd just say, "Steve, Shepherd's Bush, The Who, 1974, and walk out. And from that, I would have to get the idea of what he meant, you know. And I absolutely got what he meant. It had to have more raucous, more, you know,
The vibe.
more vibe, yeah. And he was right, you know. He very good instincts about that. But again, would spend a lot of time. He would not be one of those artists who sit at the back while everything was being done. That would bore him to tears. He would be out doing other things, and you know, we would be in the studio making music.
The drummer was Woody Taylor.
Woody Taylor, yes. Probably doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
No, it doesn't.
Ada lagi pertanyaan?
Was that? It's true. I called it, right? He doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Ada lagi mau ditanyain?
Yes, sir.
Hi Steve, you were saying about the you changed move the drum to the other room.
Yes.
That part of the song. My question is, what was the reaction of the band and the Morrissey himself? And the second one is are there any recording invention that you did on that record, like the changing moving the drums?
Moving the drums. Well, it just felt like that part of the song had to explode. And for me, like early 80s and stuff, I was well known for a certain drum sound, and I would have to have the right room to record the drums in. It would have to be very bright, and I would use a lot of compression and a lot of room mics, and sometimes record the cymbals separately, because cymbals sounded terrible with a lot of ambience. So, you know, I had a big system of how I would record drums for certain things. And in fact, just as a part of me as a producer, I did an album that I did this sound on, and it was very not successful. So I realised that, hang on, you have to put each album, don't have any preconceived ideas, because I thought, I have a sound. And of course, it's no good to have a sound, because if you have a sound, then that music might not fit your sound, So I've realised that I try and take everything and try and make the best of what it is, right, and use my experience to make the best sound for that specific artist. But on Speedway, I just thought the second half of the song, I thought, this sounds like I can go and dial in one of my old drum sounds, but I can't do it in the studio. So if you listen to the end of Speedway, it's like, it sounds like something off a 1981 U2 album or something.
What was the reaction of the band? Are they
were not. I mean, Boz was was definitely the best musician, but it wasn't a band. It's very different to working with a band who all have their own opinions. When we were working on Alan's songs, Alan would have opinions on his song. When we were working on Boz's songs, he would have opinions about his songs, but I was the driver of all that, and I didn't have to worry about so much personalities because it wasn't a band, so I didn't have to worry about the future, or I had to make the best record I could, and so I sort of take control when I'm in the studio a little bit.
Were there other things that you done?
Well, it's the only time I've ever recorded a...
No, I mean like in that album, were there any things that you did, the tricks of recording?
Well, it's the only time I've ever recorded a chainsaw, as I said. And I'll tell you, if you ever try recording a chainsaw in a studio, it really smells. because of all the petrol, all the gas that you put in there. It stunk the place out for a day, But it's a great, you really hear it, and it's, very proud of that.
Ada lagi pertanyaan? Questions?
Just curious about how much the budget you were working on.
Oh my God, it was a lot of money. Because the studio was residential. I mean, we didn't use like orchestra or anything like that. Everything was done by all of us. I don't know what the musicians were earning. Probably not that much, because they weren't top musicians. Morrissey didn't want session guys as such. I think he has more session guys now. His band now are very good and much better band than the Smiths or the early Morrissey live, because he's got these great Americans. But it was expensive. The studio was expensive, but in those days, record companies paid. That's the thing. Nowadays, absolutely, we would never, never have that. It was hundreds of thousands of pounds. Yeah.
Okay. Ada lagi yang mau nanya? Atau
maybe 200,000 pounds, something like that. Maybe 3 months, 2,000 pounds a day in the studio. How much is that? That's 90 days.
600 pounds.
3 months times 2,000 a day. That's 180,000 in studio. And then there's me. Then there's the musicians. But Morrissey would get maybe 700,000 pounds from the record label for an album. So if it cost him 400,000 to make, he would have 300,000 himself.
Masih jual lah.
Sayangnya lah itu.
Oke. Ada pertanyaan lagi atau Acang atau Ade pengen ngasih satu last word tentang Vauxhall and I? Ada nggak?
Kalau Vauxhall and I memang sangat wah monumental banget buat gue men. Satu hal karena ini yang nemenin gue selama gue dari LA ke San Diego untuk nemuin calon istri gue yang sekarang udah jadi mantan. Gila nggak? Pakem kan emang harus begitu itu kan? Pakem ini emang benar-benar. Jadi gue naik Amtrak itu gue lihat Oceanside, Anaheim, terus apa tuh? Aduh, gila semuanya balik lagi ke hidup gitu. Terus ketemu dia, waduh ini dia nih cinta gue nih.
Cantik.
Gue balikin, udah habis, hancur. Jadi monumental, harus paradoks, dia indah, bikin hancur juga. Alhamdulillah buat Morrissey ya.
Saya nggak bisa. Lu mau cinta apa juga kalah sama cinta lu barusan. Jadi gua anggap ya udah. Gua nggak usah lu yang tadi tuh. Udah terbangun banget tadi.
Ini direkam nih.
Live IG lah, live IG.
Lumayan dekat nih.
Kalau boleh satu ya.
Kok lu dari itu nanya lu gimana kalau lu ngomong?
Iya.
Ada pertanyaannya kayak.
Tadi lu tanyain barusan nih.
Soal
Iya, Vauxhall. Nanti aku tanya lagi.
Kalau buat gue album ini gimana ya? Jujur aja ini bukan album Morrissey favorit gue. Album favorit gue Morrissey justru The Arsenal. Karena apa namanya, gue mungkin lebih into the rockabilly side of Morrissey gitu. Gue apa ya, melihat album ini dari dulu, makanya ini diskusi ini mungkin apa ya, agak memenuhi keingintahuan gue karena waktu album ini besar di sini, gue gak ada di sini lagi, gak ada di Indonesia. Dan apa namanya, gue selalu berpikir waktu itu kan gue tadi sempat beberapa kali pulang gitu kan, terus beberapa kali nonton gig gitu yang kayak gignya dari jam 12 siang sampai jam 8 malam gitu kan, apa headlinernya rumah sakit gitu kan. Nah apa, band-band pembukanya itu kan selalu kalau lagunya pasti apa, The More You Know It Was Rugged by Morrissey, terus Sometimes by James, pokoknya dua itu terus gitu kan. Gue bingung gitu, kok dia bisa gede banget di situ tuh, di sini tuh kenapa gitu kan? Apa namanya? Apa karena memang pada waktu itu kayaknya tapi memang radio ya memang mainin The More You Know It Was Rugged ya, itu that's why it got big gitu kan. Tapi apa namanya? Ya gitu sih. Apa namanya? Kesan gue tentang Vauxhall and I itu gue gak punya pengalaman pribadi yang menyentuh kalau soal ini.
Kan gue udah bilang semua cerita kalah aja.
Perusak hidup.
Tapi mungkin ini sih ya, mungkin kalau misalnya buat gue sendiri, gue tertariknya album ini ngasih banyak clue buat gue tentang ya, ideologi yang Morrissey gitu, tentang jadi dari apa namanya kayak sampel-sampel yang dia pakai, kemudian apa namanya liriknya juga. Apa namanya, kan ada yang dia memelesetkan misalnya Stratford Pod jadi Strasford Pod gitu kan, di On My Heart Is Full itu. Terus apa, jadi fokusnya Morrissey, obsesinya dia terhadap Lost White England itu tuh buat gue sangat kelihatan banget di sini gitu sih. Dan itu kayaknya diteruskan juga kan. Dia banyak memakai tempat-tempat di London gitu kan, apa namanya ya, dulu misalnya ada Sloane Square, ada Earl's Court, ini di sini juga ada ya, ada Kennington, Vauxhall, terus kemudian Dagenham. He's basically moving around all the underground stations. That's his inspiration gitu kan. Dan menurut gue kalau buat gue intertekstualitas di album ini tuh apa keren banget dan membuat gue menyadari dia nggak asal ngambil intertekstualitas itu gitu kan, dia nggak asal ngambil apa karakter-karakter Dallas Pastor, Pinky Cupid, bukan cuma ngasal, tapi dia karena memang obsesinya 50s England gitu kan. Terus ya itu tadi juga apa namanya, We Are the Lambeth Boys juga 1959 documentary movie about young working class people in South London, dan dia memang sengaja pilih itu karena settingnya di Kennington next to Vauxhall gitu kan. Jadi he thinks about everything. As an artist, he's not just kayak, he's very intellectual gitu kan. Dan I think album ini tuh kayak menunjukkan segala macam kekuatannya Morrissey, sisi itunya gitu, di balik segala macam keflamboyanannya dan estetikanya gitu. He's also very thinking artist gitu kalau
Yeah.
Oke.
Terima kasih, thank you.
Oke, kalau gitu thank you banget. Kalau belum nggak ada yang lain lagi, thank you banget buat Aca, Ade, dan Si. Karena kita dengerin lagu-lagunya ya.
Lagu apa nih?
Iya, lagu apa nih? Kalau bilang lagu apa nih sekarang nih? Nama Hardis Full belum nih?
Full belum ya?
Iya, nama Hardis Full sekarang nih. Dan kalian boleh nyanyi sekeras-kerasnya ya. Iya, berdiri nih.
Can we all shout out like the ghost in all that?
Try again, I try. say Morrissey.